Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. My goodness, is this going to be a busy weekend around Atlanta and the state of Georgia. And Atlanta United is a big part of it, obviously, with a huge home match coming up Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium against Toronto FC. And we're going to spend most of the time today on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff previewing that match and putting into context how big it is for Atlanta United's playoff aspirations. If they get 3 points out of this match, Atlanta United is going to be just about over the finish line. In fact, there is a way they could clinch if they get a lot of help and if they win Saturday over Toronto. But, Jason, I mean, think about it. We have Atlanta United at home. We have the World Series in town. We have Georgia, Florida. We have the Falcons who can get over 500 if they win at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday. Oh, and by the way, it's also Halloween weekend. We got a lot going on. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's hectic. Atlanta United's got a very hectic into the season here with this one, with Wednesday at Red Bull Arena, and with Decision Day on Sunday in Cincinnati. And 3 games where 9 points are on the table in these last 3. And if Atlanta picks up all 9, second place in the Eastern Conference is in play. It's going to be fascinating to see how Gonzalo Pineda manages the emotion of these 3 games. I thought what we saw on Wednesday was a team that showed a lot of hunger, a lot of fight, a lot of desire to pick up points, even in a match where it was choppy, it was difficult. Atlanta's showing that they're ready for the postseason. Now they have 9 more points to potentially pick up. And hopefully, after picking up 3 on Saturday, then they can watch the Braves get a win in the World Series.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We're going to talk to George Bello in a little bit. George grew up in Atlanta. I know he's really pumped up about the Braves. I want to ask him about that. And obviously, I want to ask him about the big win over Miami on Wednesday. Before we show you the highlights of that match, though, let's look at the Eastern Conference table really quickly. And this is why Jason says second place is not necessarily out of the cards for Atlanta United, because Atlanta United has a game in hand on Nashville and on Philadelphia, and on New York City, and on Orlando. So Atlanta United right now controls its own destiny to go as high as 4th. They don't need any help there. All they need to do is win to get to 4th, and then if they get a little bit of help in the form of a Nashville or a Philadelphia loss or draw here or there, they could go even higher. But if Atlanta United wants to play at the Benz in the postseason, Jason, they have got to win this match Saturday against Toronto, or else they're going to have to find some points on the road at Red Bulls in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the table's interesting because you have to look at games in hand as well, and there's some uneven numbers of games because not everybody plays in the midweek next week. So some teams are only looking at 2 games left. Atlanta, for example, looking at 3. You look at the strength of schedule, which also factors in here. Nashville, who's in second right now, kind of a tricky conclusion to the season for them. They go to Orlando on Halloween, and then they host Red Bulls, who could be playing for their playoff lives on Decision Day. So you start to factor everything in, and really below New England, everything's in play from second, honestly, all the way down to 9th and 10th. Like it's really going to be a wild last couple of weeks here in Major League Soccer.
Right, and look at Red Bulls, Montreal, Columbus. Those are 3 good teams, and right now they're below the playoff line. DC just above. There are going to be some good teams that aren't going to make it. So there's a lot of pressure on the matches across the league this weekend. Atlanta United gave themselves a little bit of a cushion, though, maybe a big cushion, to be honest, with their win Wednesday over Inter Miami, and they did something that they have not done all year.
But cheers to everyone joining us here on Bally Sports this evening from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Opening kickoff presented by Mercedes-Benz. The penultimate match of the MLS regular season at home here for Atlanta United. Chapman. Breck Shea, plenty of space. Shea inside for Morgan. Morgan goes to ground. Gonzalo Higuain wants a penalty from the referee.
Gets himself into a really dangerous position.
Penalty. The referee has pointed to the spot. Higuain versus Guzan. Goal! Beautifully taken. Araujo. Goal!
just the reaction that he needed in the second half. Barco's alive, and he draws the foul.
Lovely delivery this time. Robinson needed all the pace that he had. And Atlanta United can start their attack. Franco out for Lennon. A piercing pass, Araujo. Threads the needle. Joseph Martinez in on goal. Martinez scores, and this one counts. Atlanta United lead. Clinical from Martinez.
Where he can just get the ball out of his feet. Doesn't even need a first touch. Calm, compose, finish.
Leardam. Oh, great chance. Brad Guzan. To be added at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This the opportunity. What a chance, Mo.
And just look at the...
Trailed at halftime. A valiant effort. And goals from Luis Araujo and Joseph Martinez, ensuring all 3 points here in Atlanta, Georgia.
And can't get lost in the shuffle, because that might be the one that makes the difference between a home playoff game and going on the road in the first round.
Absolutely right. Brad's made a couple very big saves right at the death lately. Up in Toronto 2 weeks ago, he had a huge save in stoppage time. Earlier in the second half on Wednesday, he had a great positional save on Gonzalo Higuain at point blank. So, yeah, Atlanta United absolutely does not get the 3 points without Brad Guzan. But they find a way to win coming from behind in a street fight. I think that's the way we described it on the radio Wednesday. It felt like that. And earlier this week, we had a chance to talk to George Bello about his role in that physical match and the hard-earned 3 points that Atlanta United got against Miami. George, great win Wednesday night, and it felt like it was kind of an urgent situation after you guys went down 1-0, because that wasn't a match where you needed 1 point. You really needed 3. How happy were you to see the response in the second half coming up with those 2 goals to come from behind?
Yeah, I was super happy and super proud. I feel like that's the perfect word for it with the team. And I said yesterday, I mean, I feel like that showed a lot about us and how we are as a team right now. Being able, I think that was the first time this year that we've come back from losing. So, I mean, that's really positive. And I was saying, like, a lot of teams down this stretch, down in the year, kind of start slowing down and going toward like a downward slope. And I feel like we're just going upwards, which is like the perfect time. So, I mean, like I said, I'm really proud of the team, and I'm glad the way we stuck together. It was a great game.
We talk about controlling matches a lot, and it's something that Atlanta United does really well. This was a game that didn't have a lot of control. It was disjointed. There were a lot of stops and starts, a lot of fouls. How hard was it to find a rhythm in the match for you?
It was difficult, but I mean, with football and soccer, like, nothing can be ever perfect. So you got to adapt to the situations. And like I said, there was a lot of fouls, especially on Barco. But we just had to keep cool and just keep going. And like I said, we stuck together throughout the end, which I was really proud about. And it showed like a lot of our grit and a lot of our determination down this last string of games to get into the playoffs position.
George, you've won a couple kind of chippy matches now in the last couple weeks against Miami and Toronto. You've won some road matches. You've won some matches with Joseph. You've won some matches without Joseph. And this is all recent within the last 3 months. It feels to me like you guys are kind of rounding into a form where no one is going to want to play Atlanta United in the playoffs. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like, I mean, I've always been confident in this team because we have, like, everyone knows we have a lot of talent on this team. So, like, I mean, I always have confidence with my teammates. And so, yeah, I mean, our recent form has been pretty well. We've gotten the results we need to get. And like I said, like yesterday, I feel like it showed what we can really do. And it showed a lot about us and a lot about our personality in this last string of games and ending towards the season. So, yeah, I'm really confident that we can close it out and get into this playoff position and go far in playoffs as well.
You mentioned Ezequiel Barco, and you two seem to have a really strong connection on the left side, combining, always seemingly on the same page. Is that something that you look at as a strength for this team going forward, with the two of you being able to create in the final third so well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Barco is an amazing player. I love playing with him, and I feel like the chemistry just came naturally. It's not something like we really worked on. It's just us just having that connection kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, he's an amazing player, someone that we need for our team for sure. So yeah, he's a great player. That's all I can really say. I mean, we have a lot of great players as well, and I feel like everyone does their part, even if like the starters, even the subs that come on. Like I feel like everyone has a part, but yeah, I mean, I feel like me and Barco have a pretty good connection, and hopefully last.
George, you've played in a lot of big matches this summer with the national team. You've spent a lot of time with the national team since the start of the calendar year. I wonder, do you feel like the experience you've had with the national team, has that helped to make you a better player?
Yeah, I feel like it for sure has, because the 2 games I've played have been away games in CONCACAF. So like they're always tough matches. It's like you never know how really difficult those type of games are, is unless you're like actually there. Because I mean, it's like a different kind of breed. So I feel like even though like they weren't like the best matches, I've learned a lot from them. And like I said, I'm still growing. I know I have a lot to learn. I'm still young, so I know I'm not there yet at all. So yeah, those matches just give me those experiences I can bring back to the club. And then if I ever get called back, like use that again, use those experiences to my advantage. So yeah, they're great stepping stones, and I'm just going to keep learning because I know I still got a lot to learn.
Is there anything from those experiences, whether it's something from the national team coaching staff or something from just the difficulty of playing on the road in CONCACAF, that you've taken specifically and brought back to Atlanta United and helped you in MLS play?
Specifically, maybe I'll say just being locked in, like for every second in the game, because it just takes 1 second for something to happen in the game. So just to be focused throughout the whole match. It's hard to do that for sure, but you always got to just keep on your toes, keep focused, and just be paying attention at every second in the game. Because, like I said, a game can just switch in a heartbeat just like that. So I think that would be the more specific thing I'll say I like.
All right, 2 weeks ago up in Toronto, that was a eventful match. Let's just put it that way. You end up winning 2-0. Now, Toronto since then has pulled a couple draws against Montreal and Philadelphia, good team. So even though they're eliminated, they're playing well. What do you think some of the keys are coming up Saturday as now you host Toronto, really needing to get 3 more points?
Yeah, I think the main key is just not to take them like as a joke or take them for granted or be complacent about things. I mean, they're not a bad team at all, for sure. So, I mean, we're going to go in there and just trying to keep on this form that we have going on, and don't think about like where they are in the standings, that they're not in playoffs anymore. Like they're still coming to play a match and try to win. You play to win. So we're going to go in there like any other game, be competitive and go for the win for sure, and just keep trying to string these games together and get these wins.
It's such a difficult time of year with so many games in a short period of time. How are you just managing that physically with game and recovery and then dialing it back up a couple days later?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm like, you just got to get used to, honestly. It's part of your life. It's your career. So like you said, the recovery is a big part. We have recovery today as doing the right things, getting enough sleep and all that kind of stuff, because obviously it's a quick turnaround. So I feel like that's like you said, the main part of it is having good recovery and being able to replenish your body for the next game that's around the corner.
All right, George, as someone who grew up in Atlanta, I have to ask you, how are you feeling about the Braves 3 wins away from a world championship? You can really feel the energy in the city right now with sports in general, but I'm wondering, have you had any chance in this busy schedule of yours to kind of look in on the Braves and see how they're doing in this World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing the results, and like you said, whenever any Atlanta team is in the final, the city is always buzzing. So, I mean, it's kind of reminding me of when we made the finals and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, really, our whole team's backing them. We're excited for them, and we're hoping for the best because, I mean, the city will go crazy if they win. So hopefully they can pull it through.
Yeah, it's kind of a special thing. Atlanta always seems to support Atlanta, and you get that crossover between the different teams. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, so fun.
All right, George, it's great visiting with you. Good luck Saturday against Toronto, and a really terrific job Wednesday against Miami. That was a tough match. Well played.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Great visiting with George Bello. Let's check in now from the proving ground. The season is over for Atlanta United 2. The season is far from over. In fact, it's really in full swing right now for Atlanta United's academies.
Yeah, while we're taking a look at some of the recent goals from the academy teams, the U13s all the way up to the U17s, we'll kind of set the scene for what this weekend looks like for the academy. Toronto FC brings their U15s and their U17s down for academy matches in MLS Next. That's a great opportunity to test yourself against teams that you don't normally see on a regular basis. If you're Atlanta United, this is the U15s who will be playing Toronto on the weekend. And what a goal here. You'd love to see this against Toronto from the training ground. The U13s, 14s, and 16s will be playing AFC Lightning, a historic club in the metro Atlanta area from Fayette County. And the U19s, you can watch the U19s on 11 Sports. They play their last match of the UPSL Georgia regular season. They host the Savannah Clovers, which the U19s, I think, are a really unique situation here with Atlanta United's academy, where they're playing in an adult league. UPSL Georgia is a amateur league. UPSL is a nationwide amateur league, and you have regions, and LAFC has academy teams in it. Actually, quite a few MLS teams are putting their U19s, their senior academy team, into these situations where they're playing grown men. And for example, there are former professionals in the UPSL Georgia League. Last match that I called for the U19s, saw some old friends, and Joseph Samuel, who played for Atlanta United too, Junior Sandoval, who played for the Atlanta Silverbacks, grew up playing at Centennial High School. Kevin Barajas, who played for Atlanta United too, Patrick Okonkwo. I mean, this is the kind of level that the U19s are playing, and it's such a cool situation to have this schedule this weekend for the academy, where you've got MLS Next, where you're playing fellow MLS academies, where you're playing fellow Metro Atlanta clubs that are very important in that development pathway, because there's players at these clubs that will make their way into Atlanta United's academy at some point. And then the U19s playing a team making the trip up from Savannah, a club that has started a couple years ago, who has big aspirations of potentially turning pro. To have that wide range of opponents is what prepares these academy players for that next step, which is Atlanta United 2, and then Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
And the cool thing is a lot of these academy matches are available online. So keep an eye on Twitter, keep an eye on Atlanta United's website for all the information there, as the academies roll through a very busy stretch of their season. Now, refocusing on Major League Soccer, we're down to 3 match windows now. This is action from the midweek and the results. And the one that really jumps out to me, Jason, is that DC 1-0 win over New York Red Bulls, something that, at least for the moment now, has put DC above the playoff line and Red Bulls below. That was a have-to-win match for DC United. They got it. Red Bulls still have the match in hand. But we were not expecting as much movement on the Eastern Conference table as there turned out to be on Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see DC getting that one done. DC's injury list right now is lengthy, and there were actually a couple of players who were listed as out that started that match in Paul Arriola and Andy Nahar, which maybe threw the Red Bulls off a little bit. NYC took care of business against Chicago. Toronto fought back to get a draw against Philadelphia. That was a bit of a surprise. And Orlando, going on the road to Columbus. Columbus, a ton of injuries they're dealing with as well. It looked like maybe when the Red Bulls went there last weekend that was going to do it for the Crew. They got back up off the mat, and they beat Orlando, and potentially a goal of the year nominee from Columbus and Lucas Zelarayan in that one.
And congratulations, by the way, to Bruce Arena and New England Revolution, clinching the Supporter Shield. And then Wednesday night, their 1-0 win over Colorado clinched the single-season points earned record in MLS. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to be thinking about 76 points. I know the scheduling format has changed a little bit, and obviously you don't play everyone in the league anymore, but that's incredible by New England Revolution. All but 4 of their wins have only been by 1 goal. But 76 points is 76 points. That's amazing.
33 matches, 4 losses for New England. They are right there in terms of having, one, the best regular season. They have the points total, but having the least amount of losses in a regular season. They're tied for that mark right now. And surprisingly, and I think we forget this at times, Nashville's tied for that mark as well with only 4 losses. They've just had 16 draws as opposed to New England 7. It's a wild season. It's a weird one because of the schedule. It is a little strange because you're seeing conferences beat up on one another. You're not seeing the cross-conference play. But to win 22 out of 33, only lose 4 times, 65 goals in that for the Revolution. Bruce Arena's done an amazing job from where they were in 2019 when he took over to now. What a turnaround for Arena.
All right, let's look at the schedule for this weekend, and playoff implications abound in both conferences. Orlando, Nashville, huge match for both teams. DC, Columbus. Columbus still mathematically alive. DC, if they want to make it, they probably need to win that one. Red Bulls, Montreal. 2 teams that have games in hand now playing against each other. So one of them is guaranteed to move up because someone at least is going to get at least a point out of that match. So there's going to be more movement in the Eastern Conference this weekend.
I think what's fascinating is you get 7 versus 10 right now in the East with DC and Columbus, and 8 versus 9 with Red Bulls and Montreal. The bottom end of the playoff picture will get some more definition in those 2 games for sure. Let's look out west because we've talked so much about the East. Just to keep an eye on the Western Conference, Sporting Kansas City's in the top spot now, and they have a game in hand on Seattle. Seattle has stumbled here with back-to-back losses. Kansas City has an opportunity to extend that lead after winning back-to-back games. Johnny Russell scored in 8 straight games for Sporting Kansas City. They go to Minnesota, a rival for them. That's a rivalry that I think some people forget about. But Minnesota's desperate. They're in 8th right now in the West. They were a finalist in the Western Conference last year, so close to getting to MLS Cup, and it all slipped away, and now the playoffs might slip away for the Loons. Colorado is still in that Western Conference race as well. They go to Houston, who has been poor this season. They've lost back-to-back matches. Colorado's dominated that series as of late. They could get to 58 points and put pressure on Seattle and Kansas City. Seattle could be 3rd in the West when we finish up based off this late season swoon. And they have a bunch of injuries they're dealing with as well. Portland is another one who doesn't play this weekend, but they're going to be watching so many of these games because they had lost 3 in a row. Now they picked up a win in the midweek, critical for them sitting in 4th. One of the teams that they're going to be paying attention to is Vancouver, who's also watching. The Galaxy are right there. Real Salt Lake is the wild card to me, because they have that game in hand over so many of those teams. They're on 45 points. They have a match that is extremely winnable at home. Real Salt Lake has built a little bit of a fortress at Rio Tinto Stadium. Saturday afternoon, 3:30, they can lay down a marker for everybody else to pay attention to. Some of those teams have to wait until Wednesday to play. But Real Salt Lake could be on 48 points. They could be in 5th. They could be 1 point out of 4th. Real Salt Lake might have a home playoff game. After a managerial change, Pablo Mastroeni could be carrying RSL into the postseason and locking down a job for himself for next season.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind again, and this is why the Atlanta United match is so important on Saturday against Toronto. 4 teams below Atlanta United right now. Red Bulls, Montreal, Columbus, DC. At least 2 of those teams are going to get points this weekend because those 4 teams play each other. Mm-hmm. So that's why Atlanta United, although they are 3 points above the playoff line right now, they need a result to keep themselves above the playoff line. And look, Toronto, they've been eliminated for 2 weeks. In fact, it was Atlanta that mathematically eliminated them on October 16th. But the thing that I think you have to appreciate about Toronto, Jason, is that they're fighting. Yeah. And they've come from behind now to pull draws against good opponents, Montreal and Philadelphia, in their last 2 matches.
Yeah, and while we're running the highlights from that Philadelphia match, a couple things to keep in mind about where Toronto is. They are out of the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. They've had injuries like a lot of teams have. It feels like one of the recurring themes of the 2021 MLS season. But they have something to play for. It's just not an MLS. They're in the semifinals of the Canadian Championship, the equivalent to the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. That brings a CONCACAF Champions League spot into play for Toronto for next season. That semifinal against a Canadian Premier League team, Pacific, is going to be on Wednesday. With the injuries they're dealing with the form they've dealt with in MLS, it would not be a surprise if some of the players that you're seeing in these highlights against Philadelphia, Josie Altidore equalized to make it 1-1, don't make the trip to Atlanta for this match on the weekend. How Toronto manages that situation is really the major storyline going into this from their side. It's come out this week that Jefferson Soteldo is going to miss out. He has a hamstring injury, could be out for the rest of the season. He's not making the trip. Alex Bono is dealing with an injury. Quentin Westberg played in the Philadelphia match. Omar Gonzalez is listed as questionable for this match. He hasn't started since the Atlanta match. They've had to have a makeshift back line. It's odd because you're seeing Michael Bradley at center back again. And if they decide to rest Bradley or Chris Mavinga, who were your two starters in this match, you see them right there as Philadelphia scored, they don't really have a lot of people to turn to. Eric Zavaleta is listed as out. Does Kamar Lawrence go to center back? What is the lineup for Toronto? When we get that lineup card an hour before kickoff, this might be the match, Mike, that you and I have the lowest number of predicted starters on our list, because I have no idea what direction Toronto's going to go in this one. I have no idea what direction they're going to go.
Yeah, sometimes, though, that can be a little bit frightening.
It can.
When you're against football coaches call it unscouted looks. When maybe you're playing against some players that you don't have film on, you're playing against some players who are trying to prove a point that they belong on a first team in MLS. So it can be really, really tricky. I don't think Atlanta United will take anything for granted against Toronto when these teams play on Saturday. And again, I think you really do have to admire the tenacity of Toronto, and a lot of it has to do with the veterans on this team that continue to play very hard, and Michael Bradley is absolutely one of them. Josie Altidore, it scares you a little bit now that he has scored in back-to-back games. He had a big goal against Montreal a week ago, so we'll have to see. I was looking down because I wanted to double-check something for my prediction.
Uh-oh, you're doing research. That's not allowed.
Just a little research. I had to confirm something.
Fair enough.
This is pretty incredible if you think about it. Brad Guzan has given up one open play goal since the Philadelphia match in mid-September. One open play goal.
Wow.
By the way, that was in Montreal on October 2nd. Okay, so think about it. Since then, gave up a penalty to Montreal, penalty in the Miami match, Tor Aronson on a free kick right at the end against New York City. That's how good Brad has been. Looking for his 10th clean sheet on Saturday. That's my prediction. Number 10. Clean sheet number 10 for Brad Guzan. I don't know if it means it's an Atlanta United win or a draw, but I think Guzan gets the clean sheet. He has been tremendous as a shot stopper this year. I don't think a lot of people realize that Atlanta United is number one in MLS coming into the weekend in save percentage. Can and Guzan have been excellent shot stoppers this year.
I think last time we were on the countdown to kickoff, my prediction going into the Toronto match on the road was that Marcelino Moreno would win 7 duels in the match, and he did that in the first half.
Right.
He is, as Gonzalo Pineda told the media after the match, he's dealing with a foot injury. He wasn't able to start on the midweek, so I'm gonna stay away from repeating that one. But I am gonna go with another kind of bold one, and I think it's down to how well he's played lately. We called him the Iceman on our radio call on Wednesday, Luis Araujo. To add somebody of that level in midseason is amazing to bring him in, and I think he's really starting to click in MLS and with his teammates. He had the goal and the assist on Wednesday. Devastating on the dribble, and this is a team with a lot of dribblers, with Araujo, with Moreno, with Barco, surprisingly with Miles Robinson, with George Campbell. When he gets loose on the dribble, you've got guys who can win those dribbling battles. But Araujo is one of the best in MLS. Limited time frame, but one of the best. I think Luis Araujo wins more than 6 dribbles. It's a huge number. More than 6 against Toronto. Because I think this is where, we've talked about it with Joseph and where he is, and I don't know if he starts on Saturday, to be honest. You're having to manage his minutes, and just He's playing hurt. He's able to deal with that pain, but 90 minutes on short rest, maybe he can't give you that. Luis Araujo feels like the guy, along with Ezequiel Barco, who's starting to say, put that pressure on me. It's okay. I'll take that. He's been in big games. He was in big games last year for Lille, winning the French league title in a shocking result. Everybody expected PSG to take that. Lille did. Araujo played an important role. I think he kind of likes the pressure. I think he enjoys it. And he enjoys showing out. And I think he'll do that here with 6 dribbles, which will lead to a lot of opportunities for him and for his teammates.
Yeah, he's in tremendous form over the last 3 matches. Game-winning goal up at Toronto, assist on the Moreno goal against New York City, and then a free kick magic against Miami on Wednesday, and add an assist on Joseph's goal as well. So he's been absolutely fantastic. Okay, so Saturday, we know it's going to be a busy afternoon, busy evening. The good news is Atlanta United's match will be over by the time the Braves start in the World Series. So double it up. Jason and I will be on the radio at Star 94, 5:30 Eastern time on Saturday. You can watch the match on Bally Sports. The final home match of the regular season. Hopefully there will be a home playoff match, but we know for sure the final home match of the regular season. So make sure to join us at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. And when we talk next week on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, we'll break down Decision Day and all the scenarios that are in play for Atlanta United in the postseason. If they get a win on Saturday, we think they're going to make it. That might be all they need. But we will break it all down for you next week when we have our final regular season edition of the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. See you then.